So I need to tell you about the time I got called immature for canceling a third date. And honestly, I'm still not sure if I was wrong or not. Let me start from the beginning. My friend Sarah had been talking about this coworker of hers for weeks. She kept saying we were perfect for each other, that we had so much in common, that we needed to meet. I was skeptical because these setups never really work out. But Sarah was persistent, and eventually I agreed. I figured, what's the worst that could happen? One awkward coffee date, and I could say I tried. Except the first date wasn't awkward at all. We met at this coffee shop downtown, and from the moment she walked in, I could tell Sarah might actually have been onto something. Her name was Emma, and she had this easy smile that made conversation feel natural. We talked for 2 hours about books and hiking and our terrible taste in reality TV. When we left, I actually wanted to see her again. That never happens. We arranged to meet the following week at the Botanical Garden. I remember being genuinely excited about it, which felt weird and nice at the same time. The morning of the date, I spent way too long picking out what to wear, trying to look casual but like I cared. When I got there, she was already waiting by the entrance, and my stomach did this stupid flutter thing. The botanical garden was beautiful. We walked through the rose section, the tropical greenhouse, these winding paths under huge oak trees. Everything was going great. Then we stopped at this bench near the water features, and that's when she mentioned it. Almost casually, like she was commenting on the weather. She told me she had a peanut allergy. Life-threatening, she said. Had to carry an EpiPen everywhere. I remember feeling this immediate sympathy for her. I told her that must be really stressful, living with something like that hanging over you. She nodded and said, yeah, it was, but she was used to it. She'd had the allergy her whole life. We talked about it for a few minutes, then moved on to other topics. By the end of the date, I'd almost forgotten about it. We set up plans for lunch later that week, and I drove home feeling pretty good about everything. But that night, lying in bed, my brain wouldn't shut off. I started thinking about peanuts. Which sounds ridiculous, I know, but hear me out. I love peanuts. Like, really love them. Peanut butter is a staple in my kitchen. I eat it straight from the jar sometimes. I put it in my smoothies, on my toast, in my oatmeal. I make peanut sauce for stir fry at least twice a week. I keep a jar of dry roasted peanuts in my car for snacks. And then there's my dog, Max. I stuff his Kong toys with peanut butter to keep him occupied. He carries those toys everywhere, dragging them across the carpet, the couch, my bed. There's probably peanut oil on every surface in my apartment. I'd never thought about it before because why would I? But now, lying there in the dark, I couldn't stop thinking about it. I imagined Emma coming over to my place. Would I have to deep clean everything first? What about cross-contamination in my kitchen? Could I even kiss her after eating peanut butter? I'd read somewhere that peanut allergies could be triggered by trace amounts, by residue you couldn't even see. The thought of accidentally hurting her, of being responsible for an allergic reaction, made my chest tight with anxiety. The more I thought about it, the more I realized this wasn't just about cleaning my apartment once. If things got serious with Emma, if we actually became a couple, I'd need to change my entire lifestyle. No more peanut butter, no more Thai peanut sauce. I'd need to check every label at the grocery store. My dog's toys would need to be filled with something else. My whole kitchen would need to be peanut-free. And the thing is, I know that sounds selfish. I know it does. But we'd only been on 2 dates. 2 really good dates, sure, but still just 2. Was it fair to either of us to keep going when I already knew I wasn't willing to make those changes? Wouldn't it be worse to waste her time to let her get more invested, only to have the same realization 3 months down the line? If you're enjoying this story, hit that like button and subscribe for more real-life drama. So I made a decision. 3 days before our lunch date, I called her. My hands were actually shaking when I dialed. She answered on the second ring, sounding happy to hear from me. That made it harder. I told her I was sorry, but I needed to cancel our lunch. There was this pause, and then she asked if I wanted to reschedule for another day. I took a breath and said no, I didn't think we should see each other anymore. I could hear the confusion in her voice when she asked why. So I was honest. I told her I really liked peanuts, that they were a big part of my diet and my life, and that I'd be constantly nervous about accidentally exposing her to something that could hurt her. I admitted that I knew there were safety precautions we could take, but that I didn't want to do them. The silence on the other end of the phone was brutal. Then she said, "Wow," just that one word, but I could hear everything in it: disbelief, hurt, anger. She told me I was immature, that she couldn't believe I was ending things over peanuts. Before I could respond, she hung up. I sat there staring at my phone, feeling like garbage. Part of me wondered if I should call back, try to explain better. But what was there to explain? I'd been pretty clear. I chose peanuts over her. When you put it like that, it does sound immature. The next day, Sarah called me. She'd heard from Emma, obviously. Sarah was confused, kept asking me to explain my reasoning again. I went through the whole thing: the peanut butter, the dog toys, the lifestyle changes. Sarah listened, and when I was done, she said my logic was definitely weird. Not wrong necessarily, but weird. Then she told me Emma had called me a massive douche. I asked Sarah if she agreed with that assessment. She hesitated, which told me everything. She finally said she wasn't sure, but that she understood why Emma was upset. Here was this woman who'd been managing a life-threatening condition her entire life, who was probably used to people being weird about it, and I'd essentially told her she wasn't worth the inconvenience of switching to almond butter. The thing is, I get it. I really do. Emma didn't ask to have a peanut allergy. She's probably dealt with rejection and judgment because of it more times than I can imagine. And here I came along acting like two good dates weren't worth the effort of reading some ingredient labels and buying different dog treats. When Sarah put it that way, I felt even worse. But at the same time, isn't it better that I was honest? We'd only known each other for 2 weeks. I didn't lead her on. I didn't ghost her. I called her, explained myself, and gave her closure. Would it have been better to keep dating her, knowing I wasn't willing to change my habits, just to avoid looking like a jerk? That seems worse to me. That seems like the actually immature thing to do. I've gone over this in my head 1,000 times. Maybe I should have given it more of a chance. Maybe if I'd really gotten to know Emma, if I'd fallen for her, the peanut thing wouldn't have seemed like such a big deal. Maybe I gave up too easily. Or maybe I was right to recognize an incompatibility early and end things cleanly before anyone got hurt. I still don't know. Sarah doesn't talk about Emma anymore, which is probably for the best. I haven't changed anything about my diet or my apartment. Max still gets his peanut butter Kongs. I'm still eating peanut sauce twice a week. And sometimes, when I'm spreading peanut butter on my toast in the morning, I wonder what Emma's doing and if she thinks about that weird guy who picked Skippy over her. What would you have done in this situation? Let me know in the comments. And if you enjoyed this, like, subscribe and hit that bell icon for notifications.